All right, guys, we are just 2 days away from the MLB trade deadline. We've got major stuff on Ohtani. We've got Juan Soto trade proposals. We've got the recent rumors going around baseball. Take a look at this. John Morosi, Padres willing to discuss. Very important here. C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel in a potential Juan Soto trade. So that is 2 or 3 of their top prospects right there. Now, it's going to take more than just those guys to get Juan Soto, but this is very interesting, and it tells me that the Padres are extremely involved in a potential Juan Soto trade, and I really don't think the Nationals at this point want to include Patrick Corbin in their contract. Patrick Corbin in the trade due to his contract and the way it would devalue the trade. The one thing I'm thinking in my head, if the Nationals trade Soto to the Padres, you could see an Eric Hosmer for Corbin swap where Corbin has the worst contract, but you're really not losing all that much money because if you're the Padres, I don't think there's a way. Maybe I'm wrong on this. If the Padres get Juan Soto, I don't think they can also take on Corbin's full contract. Because they're also already paying Machado that massive deal, Hosmer the massive deal. I don't think they can take on the full contract. So I'm just thinking maybe there's a way if they also take on Corbin, get rid of Eric Hosmer. From the Nationals' perspective, Hosmer's contract, while it's still bad, it's better than Corbin's. So you kind of upgrade with a little bit of a less worse contract. And then also you would be taking on 3 or 4 top prospects, of course. According to our sources, the reason why the Padres haven't acquired Soto is because the Nationals are asking for an additional important prospect on top of the 4 already being offered by the Padres. So the Nationals basically want to clean out their entire farm system. And at this point, we were told around an 80% chance Soto gets traded before the deadline, but you still have a little bit of leverage. Well, you actually have a lot of leverage if you're the Nationals because you have 2.5 years of control. Technically, you really don't have to trade him at this deadline, but wait a few days. See if the offers get any better. You have to be thinking the Dodgers are making an offer. You have to be thinking obviously the Padres are making an offer, and then maybe the Cardinals. Those are the 3 teams we're looking at right now. There are definitely a few long shots, but if you're talking about teams that I would say the best chance, it's those 3 teams, and obviously we've heard there is significant dialogue between the Padres and the Nationals around Juan Soto. We've got the Giants now listening on their veterans, Carlos Rodon, Jock Peterson. The Giants are a very smart franchise. This makes complete sense. They realize that their team probably isn't making the playoffs this year. Even if they made the playoffs, they're probably not doing much. Why not trade players, veteran players on expiring contracts, get back young prospects? This is exactly how you should do it. Don't be delusional and think, oh, we're 5 games out of a wild card, let's keep everyone, then miss the playoffs and lose all those players in the offseason for nothing. The Giants are very smart. So Carlos Rodon, and guys, this is great news for a team like the Yankees who need starting pitching. The more pitchers that are available, the better chances you have at landing one. The Yankees targeting Frankie Montas. The Yankees possibly looking at the lefty Carlos Rodon, who has an opt-out after this year, very likely, based on how he's been pitching, will become a free agent at the end of the year. So you're not giving up much to get him. He would require less prospects than a guy like Frankie Montas. And we've heard about Pablo Lopez. That would be a bigger trade for the Yankees and for anyone that tries to acquire him due to the years of control that Pablo Lopez has. But I could certainly see the Marlins trading Pablo Lopez because they just have a horrifically bad offense, like horrifically bad. So That would not surprise me at all. We've got this interesting thing. It makes total sense here. The Red Sox seem to be leaning towards moving veteran players before the deadline. Could the Mets be a good fit? So you're looking at guys like a J.D. Martinez, possibly like a Xander Bogaerts, who I've speculated I think they are not re-signing Xander Bogaerts. So it would make sense. Trade Xander, get young controllable prospects back for him. Martinez, certainly you should trade. The Red Sox are at a point right now, they've played so bad in July. You know the Yankees have a stranglehold on that division. The Rays are always going to be competitive. The Orioles have gotten so much better. And then you've also got the Blue Jays, who are clearly in their contending window right now. Don't be delusional. Trade your veterans, get something young back for them, give Devers his massive deal. Don't give Xander a long-term contract because he's going to age poorly in terms of his defense. I think Red Sox fans need to come at this with a level head. Certainly you got to get a deal done with Devers. If worst case scenario with Devers, he transitions to being a first baseman, he's still going to be a 900 OPS type guy. So if I'm a Red Sox fan, I know they talked about a potential Matt Olson deal. He wasn't interested in that. I think the one problem with Devers is his defense. It's not horrifically bad, but there is some thought that he could have to be a first base / DH in a few years. But if you can get a deal done with Devers, make him a big contract, trade Xander. There's no way they're going to re-sign both Devers and Xander. I just don't even think it would make sense. Because then that much capital is going to two players, especially with Xander and the way he's going to age as a defender at shortstop. I think their best move for the Red Sox right now, trade Xander, trade your veterans, J.D. Martinez, possible pitchers, Nathan Eovaldi as well, and get back young controllable prospects or young players that have a lot of control left. That's what I would be doing. We've got the Yankees and the Cardinals are among the teams looking at Frankie Montas. So very interesting. You would think if the Cardinals did make a trade for Frankie Montas, they would be out of the Juan Soto sweepstakes, which theoretically would cut it down to two teams, the Padres and also the Dodgers. Although we haven't heard a ton on the Dodgers, I still think they're deep in it for Juan Soto. They're one of the top teams in my opinion. But the Cardinals looking at Montas, we know the Yankees, they have to get a starter, whether it's Rodon, whether it's Montas. Quintana is not going to cut it. A guy like that, you cannot have him be your big deadline pickup. You've got to get one of these other guys. And then we've got some trades. This is a trade just straight up for Juan Soto because the Nationals don't want to include Corbin. And you can see the amount of stuff you're giving up. I will say, in hearing what Dodgers fans have to say, I know fans love their own players, but it does make sense for the Dodgers to keep Gavin Lux because they're probably going to lose Trey Turner, and Gavin Lux right now, who was a number 1 overall prospect, he's finally breaking out. He is going to be their shortstop of the future, so I would be kind of surprised. Listen, it's Juan Soto. You trade who you have to trade to get him, and Gavin Lux is batting 9th right now for the Dodgers. Now, he probably should be higher in the lineup. He's got an OPS above 800, and he's really looking like that former number 1 overall prospect. So this is an interesting trade. I just don't know if they would include Gavin Lux. They've also, maybe, one of their outfield prospects, Andy Pages. They have their top catching prospect in there, Dustin May. Dustin May is so good. It's just the injury concerns. That's it with him. But that's a trade for Juan Soto. This is the Padres taking on all of Corbin's contract, which I feel like will not happen. I think the only way the Padres take on Corbin's contract is if they trade Eric Hosmer's bad contract back to the Nationals. Because that's just the only way I think it would work. But you can see the main prospects, Abrams. So this is what I can guarantee. If the Padres trade for Juan Soto, C.J. Abrams is a National. Hassel is a National. Those are the two main guys. And then the other guy I would look at is Wood, another outfield prospect who I think the Nationals probably want, and maybe the Padres right now don't want to give him up. That was kind of the rumor. The Nationals wanted an extra top prospect. The Padres didn't want to do it. And then this is one with the Cardinals. Really, it's Dylan Carlson, who apparently there's rumors that the Nationals really like Carlson, and then Jordan Walker. They're just two super prospects. I don't know if the Nationals would do it just for 4 overall prospects. You can see Cardinals fans really didn't like this trade. But overall, I mean, it's Juan Soto. If you want Juan Soto with 2.5 years left on his contract, in arbitration, you're going to have to give up a ton. This is a Yankees trade for Carlos Rodon. You can see, I mean, that would be amazing if you're a Yankees fan. You're not giving up much of anything, and you're getting back Rodon and some cash, it looks like, from the Giants. And I think this is a realistic trade. You're going to have to, in terms of these trade values, it's a seller's market. So when you look at the total value, like the Giants getting $19 million in value, the Yankees getting $15, you'd be like, oh, the Yankees are overpaying. Well, I just think it's a seller's market. Like, if you want to get one of these starters, you're going to have to give up a little bit more than the model suggests, because there's going to be teams competitively bidding against you. It's like the Mariners. Everyone's like, they gave up so much. I mean, I'm sure the Yankees were offering a lot. They didn't offer Volpe for Castillo. I think the main reason the Yankees didn't offer Volpe, Castillo only has 1.5 years left on his contract. So, to give up your number 1 overall prospect, who's a top 10 prospect in baseball, for a guy with 1.5 years left on his contract, who's also a pitcher, he's not even a position player, I agree with Cashman. You shouldn't have done that. But it's these trades, it's a seller's market, especially with the starting pitchers. You're gonna likely give up more. And then this is one with the Cardinals. I would love this if I was a Cardinals fan. But again, I think you're gonna have to give up more, probably another prospect on top of it, and really kind of overpay theoretically for Rodon, because it's a seller's market at this point. How about this one? Joey Gallo, worth less than $1 million, going back to the Rangers. I think this makes sense if you're a Rangers fan, and if you are the Rangers, you're not contending right now. Get back Joey Gallo. He's going to be a free agent. We know he played well as a Ranger. Maybe he does something. Maybe he hits a few home runs. But the Yankees are just going to look to offload Gallo for whatever they can get. Or they'll just DFA him, honestly. And then this is one, Frankie Montas to the Yankees for a series of not great prospects. Yeah, so this is another one where the Yankees are going to have to give up more than this. You can tell a Yankees fan made this, because they tried to include, none of the big-name prospects, like Jason Dominguez. If I'm trading for Montas and I'm a Yankees fan, I would hope Jason Dominguez wouldn't be included. But if it's a seller's market, it's going to be, if it comes a point when you got to stop prospect hugging and you just got to get an elite starter, And we saw with the Mariners trade, it's a seller's market. There's a lot of demand. The Yankees were in on Luis Castillo. They got outbid by a team willing to pay more than what Luis Castillo was worth, because they said, we want to make the playoffs. We don't care. We will trade prospects for a proven commodity. I cannot stress that enough. And then this trade, Shane Bieber. So yeah, I am a Guardians fan, guys. I don't think we're trading Shane Bieber right now. And this wouldn't make sense for the Guardians. Matthew Liberatore, they're not going to want a young pitcher, another young catching prospect we already have. So yeah, this doesn't make sense. Trading Shane Bieber is really interesting. I think Shane Bieber is actually worth a lot less than the $64 million they say he's worth. The reason is because he has decreased velocity. And by decreased velocity, I mean he went from throwing 93 to 90. It's not good. I mean, he still is pitching well, and Bieber has a really good contract. But I think teams probably are concerned about Bieber and his decreased velocity. And then you can see this latest update on Ohtani. It says Ohtani is unlikely to be dealt, but the New York Mets remain intrigued. So, I mean, what kind of a rumor is that? They're saying he's not going to be traded, but if he is, the Mets are intrigued. So I guess what we can take away right now, trading Ohtani from a baseball sense makes complete sense, but obviously these teams love profit, they love revenue, If Ohtani is pitching and hitting, he's the starting pitcher and he's leading off, that's so much money. That's so much gate revenue you're going to get. That's so much more ratings. So it's tough for the Angels to trade him, but they're in a spot right now. If you're talking about what is the best baseball move for them, it's 100% trading Shohei Ohtani, and I don't even think it's a question. But there's more that goes into it from a business side. I think at the end of the day, if they find a trade where you're getting back 2 or 3 really good prospects, it has to be tempting because there's reports that the Angels very likely are not going to be able to re-sign Shohei Ohtani after next offseason because they've got Mike Trout on a massive contract. They've got Anthony Rendon on a massive contract. Why not trade him? His value is never going to be higher. If you trade him in the offseason, you're going to get less because then he has only 1 year left on his contract. Right now is the time to strike. We'll see what happens with Ohtani. I think it's 50-50 that he gets traded because just from a baseball sense, it makes so much more sense to trade Ohtani. The other issue is their farm system. The Angels' farm system is terrible right now. So it just makes so much logical sense to trade him. But obviously, from a business perspective, you would want to keep him and use him to profit and things like that. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.